Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scaling SaaS Podcast, brought to you by Zeno Digital Consulting Group. I'm your host, Brad Cavanaugh. Each week, we sit down with SaaS leaders driving growth, innovation, and customer success with one goal: to uncover what's really working so you can scale smarter. Today's episode explores the quiet shift in software as a service, what your customers actually want now. For years, growth has meant adding features, funding, and funnels, but as the industry matures, customers are looking for something simpler, clear outcomes, less friction, and tools that feel more like trusted partners than tech stack. So joining me today is Mark Helton, president of Hot Prospector, a platform built to simplify and scale outreach for businesses that need more conversations, but without losing that personal touch. Mark's built a reputation for combining automation with real human insight, and I'm excited to get into how that approach aligns with this shift we're seeing across SaaS. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you jumping on. Why don't you start with a little bit of your background? You've been in sales automation for quite a while now. What led you to create Hot Prospector? What gap were you seeing? Like what made you make that move?
Yeah, sure. So I actually work in the agency niche for SaaS, for sales automation. We actually came to work in that niche because my background is working as an agency. So I was in the mortgage industry for 5 years. 2008, we had a big shift in the market, as you probably remember. And when I was no longer able to get loans approved, I was unable to make money. My livelihood was gone overnight. And so I shifted into the agency world at that moment, becoming a marketing agency, helping businesses to be found online and generate leads, because I had a background in that, doing it for my own marketing or for my own mortgage business. So it saved me at that moment from being completely broke. And I transitioned, after being in that space for a while, into being more of a coach and a mentor to other agencies that were trying to grow in sales. My background, before I was in the mortgage business is sales. I've been in sales for 25 years. It's easy for me to get clients. And so I pivoted more into that space, and Hot Prospector was one of the tools that we had developed in order to help agencies. Fast forward to today, now we work with hundreds of agencies who have thousands of clients in our software. And what we do is we help them to grow a sales team to help their clients, which is the small business owner, to focus on speed to lead and conversion on the leads that they're generating from their online marketing expertise.
You sell to agencies so that agencies can use Hot Prospector to help their clients, SMBs, bring in leads.
Exactly. And mostly it's just small business. We don't even know SMB, just small. Majority of the agencies that we work with, yeah, just M or just S.
Yeah. Okay.
SB. I don't even know if that's a thing, but most of the businesses they're working with are local, brick and mortar, mom and pop. I think that's probably a better definition. They have budgets average usually they're doing somewhere between 1 and 5 million.
Interesting. It's funny. We have a similar journey. I used to work in Silicon Valley, kind of basically my entire career till about 3 years ago, and shifted to an agency, started my own agency, and then now am pivoting a little bit, still from a consulting integration standpoint, but doing something similar to kind of what you're doing, which is fascinating. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I wanted to get some insights from you. You've been doing it longer, so I'm actually excited for this conversation. When exactly did Hot Prospector when was it born?
I mean, we wrote the first line of code of Hot Prospector somewhere around 2011. I want to say it was closer to like the end of 2011. We didn't really birth what we have today until like 2015. We started to kind of understand what we were building around 2014. So when I started my agency, I had to have developers to do a lot of the stuff that I needed done for my clients. And so we hired our team in Pakistan in 2010. So as you have this team, you come up with ideas, you start building it. And at least for me, I mean, I'm a geek when it comes to like trying to automate stuff. And I was automating stuff way early that wasn't really, people weren't even thinking to automate back then. And I was building little SaaS and sell it, or not SaaS, but little wares, little software and selling it. And Hot Prospector was one of those tools that I sold. I actually was on the Warrior Forum. I don't know if you know what that is, but it was a kind of a community for agencies or online marketing people that were trying to learn how to be an online marketer. And so that's kind of how I built Hot Prospector, was like helping these agencies and helping them to grow their business. And as I was building into Hot Prospector, I'd offer them more services.
So do you still do more traditional agency things like local SEO and those things in addition to the outreach tool?
Can you say that again? Your sound cut out.
Sorry. Do you still do traditional kind of digital marketing for your agency clients?
No. So my focus is all agency myself, like working for agencies to help them on their call center now. That's it. So Hot Prospector is all about the speed to lead. It's about, follow-ups. It's about doing the right stuff with the sales team. And so we just support agencies that want to grow that call center.
Got it. Got it. So, I mean, you obviously said you're in sales. You've been in sales for a long time. Sounds like it's been about like 10 years around Hot Prospector. What have you seen over the years? I mean, what's changed most from your early versions and what, kind of customers are asking for now? Has that changed dramatically over the last decade?
I think it's not that, maybe that hasn't changed, but maybe it's just me that's changed. I've evolved. I've learned. I try to stay in the loop of what's going on, the new stuff that's being done. And so I've adapted over that time. My business in the very beginning, I was kind of just limited in what I knew, and my expertise when I first got into this business was all cold calling. And so the tool that I built was cold calling. It was like and I'm not talking B2C, I'm saying B2B. We would call businesses, and that was how we generate business. Still today, that's how I generate business, is cold calling. But as time went on and we started bringing in clients using Hot Prospector that had a B2C customer from their ads, we fell into a product market fit by mistake. And that caused me to have to try to, listen to what they were looking for and add it to our system to improve, to get to a point where we are today, where we now have like a very unique set of tools that help a very unique customer. And so I don't really think things have changed much. I feel like it's just, at least in the market, at least from what I've seen, it's just more, maybe I've gotten better at it, or I've learned, and adapted.
Do you find that agencies are in tool overload, because we just get, I'm sure you do too. We just get bombarded with, all the things that are out there now. How do you break through the noise, with all that with your customers?
Well, I think that as a business owner, a small business owner or entrepreneur, anybody that's, where we are, I don't know where you are, but I can speak for myself. When you're in that 1 to 5 million range in business, you're still at a point where you're really deeply involved in the acquisition side of getting customers and, all of those things. And you're looking, not just because, like, I think you're looking for something that's going to give you the advantage that you need in order to get out of that grind, you know? So I don't really look at it as tool overload. I look at it as optimism, that this is the thing that's going to help me. And a lot of times you don't know really until you take a shot. It's getting clearer though in the market from what I've seen of who you should be working with. For example, on the marketing side of things, we integrated with a company called High Level back in 2022, like the end of 2022, 2023. And before then, we considered them our competitor. But now they've become like a clear leader in the space. And from what I hear, there's really just it's them or maybe HubSpot is pretty much the only options that are really like viable.
Interesting. I didn't realize that you integrated with Go High Level. That's cool. Yeah, I run into a lot of businesses that use High Level. It definitely does hit that sweet spot for a lot of features. It can be a little cumbersome at times, from what I understand, but I think it is feature rich for a lot of agencies.
Yeah, I mean, it is cumbersome, like you said, but it's all in one tools save you a lot of money from having to buy a lot of other tools, but they do not save you, frustration of learning, right? Or the learning curve. But I've noticed like high level HubSpot, both of them, they're very robust and they're worth having and they're worth learning if you want to grow your business.
Absolutely. You talked about kind of keeping where I see this, but kind of how do you keep that kind of human element, because Hot Prospector is all about speed, like you mentioned, automation. How do you keep that human element when you're delivering, automation? I mean, how do you build kind of authenticity into those workflows that are essentially inherently automated?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because that's the thing. I think a lot of businesses who get into tools like high level have this misconception. They feel like we can use a automated tool to just reply to the, leads when they come in and send them a text and maybe get them to go to a booking link and book themselves, self-book themselves, and that's going to be all it takes in order to convert them. But the problem that comes with that is those appointments typically aren't the most they don't show. They don't hold. You have low show rates and also low conversion rates on those types of leads. And so if you wanna really get the most out of the prospects that you have that you're generating through your marketing advertising efforts, you really got to have a human in there. And so what Hot Prospector does is we make prioritize their leads and help them get on the phone with the lead as quickly as possible while they're still hot. We keep the agent from having to think too much about what they're going to do next. When you have all of these tools or when you have all of these decisions that a salesperson needs to make, the easiest decision is none, right? It's just, I'll sit there and do nothing. And so Hot Prospector solves that, and that's really like where I feel the businesses are really struggling the most. They've got too many things going on in the salespeople's mind and too many decisions that they're supposed to try to make.
So how does that work? I mean, like, give me just a high level overview of like how Hot Prospector. I mean, it's an AI driven dialer. So you're like you mentioned earlier, it's about cold calling essentially. So how does that work? Is it? Give me just a little bit of overview on that.
Yeah, so the way it works, so for example, we would connect with a tool like High Level, and when a lead comes in through their funnel now, it automatically gets prioritized using our algorithm that decides, okay, this lead should be called next because obviously speed is the first thing. After this lead's called, we're going to call this other lead because of these things, this boxes that it checks off. And, we schedule leads automatically. All of these little things that an agent would typically do happens behind the scenes. So all the agent needs to do is just click next, 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 next. And it's just automatically pulling the next one up. It doesn't mean it's by just age. It's literally checking the boxes to see like why it should be called. But only thing that the company has to do is just connect their lead service to Hot Prospector and that's it. So, we push it in via webhook or we push it in via our API. We connect to Facebook. We connect to a lot of different tools where businesses are getting leads from. And then the agents just focus on just talking. That's it.
I got it. Okay. Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. So they already have a lead generation funnel system, whether it's ads or email outbound or something. They already have that.
Hmm.
A lot of times they are, to your point, they're using Go High Level to pull those in so that your leads get sorted, and then you guys have some sort of algorithm that's essentially what you're talking about is like a scoring mechanism, and then I'll put it up on the top and then have someone basically just dialing out so they can reach out to leads that have already expressed interest.
Exactly.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Do you so curious about your own company? I mean, what do you do to generate your own leads? I mean, obviously you use, I'm sure you use your your own hot prospector to call them, but what are you doing
Mhm.
to kind of generate that lead list?
Yeah, I mean, our focus has always been cold outreach. Like we've done a lot in that arena because it's like we can target exactly who we want to target. There's like I use tools like Built With to go online and find somebody who has the technology footprint that we can help and then filter down to like, the numbers of employees or the revenue targets and things like that. And then we just reach out to them and just let them know that we have a better mousetrap that will help them to improve their sales. So that's been the easy thing for us. I mean, we also run some ads on Facebook and such. But when it comes to businesses, it's nice to be able to just reach out to somebody and know, hey, we already have a bunch of people just like you that do exactly what you do using the exact technologies that you use. Let me help you.
You essentially use Built With to build your kind of prospect list per se, and then just use your hot prospector and you just cold call them.
Have SDRs. Yeah, have SDRs reach out and cold call, email, LinkedIn, social media, follow them on Instagram, whatever you have to do in order to get their attention. But that's been the best way to get in front of the right prospect for us.
Yeah, that's interesting. So as you scaled, what are you seeing as kind of just, operational challenges that you tried to solve yourself? I mean, from a business owner's perspective, for the folks out there in podcast land, everybody's, challenged with that scaling quickly, operational efficiencies, integration. Like, what were the biggest challenges that you've dealt with over the last decade scaling Hot Prospector?
Scaling me. That's it. Like, I mean, honestly, like I got into business a long time ago. I started my business by just saying I didn't want to work for a company. I wanted to work for myself. And that was fun to be that pioneer and go out there and try to generate my own revenue because I was good at the sales side of things, but I knew nothing about business. And so my challenges that kept me from being able to grow over the years was myself, limiting myself from growth. So I think that most businesses, at least on the small business side, maybe have something similar to that. They need some operational help, somebody who has the systems in place that can help you implement. Either that, you're going to have to go out and learn. And I constantly learn myself and try stuff, but yeah, that to me I feel is like the biggest thing that holds businesses.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and his was a CEO of a company, and his one of his goals was how quickly could he, kind of get out of that mode, right? Like when from a scaling perspective. And so he was struggling with that's the challenge, right? Because he was the crux of the company. And so how do you hire good people, trust them, onboard them? I mean, there's a lot there to kind of move yourself out of the everyday business. And that's a typical challenge that I've been hearing a lot when talking to a lot of, leaders in this space.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you got to always be growing. You got to always be learning.
From a product standpoint, how do you from a feature, addition, standpoint, like how do you decide what to build into the tool, or has the tool stayed fairly the same? I mean, it's pretty straightforward on what you do, but do you get customer requests? Do you just kind of get some data from the tool itself, your own intuition? How do you kind of build features onto the tool?
A little bit of everything you just mentioned. I would say a lot of it is my intuition because I'm going with my experience and seeing what other people that I have on my, my customers are needing and just trying to solve those problems for them. We've constantly adapted over the years. And I know it sounds like, oh, it's a dialer. How much better can a dialer be? But
Right.
yeah, like it's always improving. Just to give you an example, one feature that we're working on right now, which is, it's a pretty big game changer that nobody else has, because what we've focused on doing is getting deep, deep, deep as an integration of high level to solve the problems for the agency that nobody else is solving. So that way, like if you're an agency in high level, which they have a lot of agencies, and you're trying to do what we're offering agencies to help their clients do, you just need Hot Prospector. You can't do anything. You can't do it without us, right? That's what our motto is. It's like we want to be that level of software. So the software feature that we're rolling out right now that is like pretty big deal. It seems simple, but when you book an appointment inside of High Level's calendar, it would automatically schedule a callback inside of our software, right? To be able to pop up in the dialer at that time, which seems like it's a simple thing, but it's little things like that that you learn as you're dialing. Yeah, this is how I could put this into my workflow. Another thing that's really big is the agencies are trying to show their clients what they've done for them, right? Because their clients need to see the results. And sometimes those results are taking a little bit of time to mature, we'll say. So they want to see what's happening in real time. And so what they do is typically they'll give them access and they'll have pipelines so they can see their pipeline building and growing. And so the lead comes in from Facebook and, it's going through these different stages. Well, with Hot Prospector, as the agents are making the calls, those things are automatically moving inside of High Level, the pipeline view. The pipeline is growing with value. All of those things are happening. And those are integrations that it's stuff that we've learned, like by actually doing, working with the agencies.
Just to jump back to the first new feature that you were talking about, the call scheduled within Hot Prospector. So that just means that an SDR doesn't have to do anything. It just shows up on their calendar, and then they know now they're going to call this prospect at a certain time. It's not like a pop-up or anything like to immediately do it. It's like maybe tomorrow or the next day they schedule a call.
The way it works, so we have our own internal scheduler. So if I'm a caller, I can schedule an appointment for myself. We call it a callback, to pop up automatically on my dialer. When I'm logged in, it'll pop up at that time. And we send notifications. You could send a notification to the lead or also to the agent, so they know that they've got a callback coming, and they can also manually access that list. But beyond that, we have appointments. So in a Hot Prospector, an agent can book an appointment for somebody on their High Level calendar. So if you're booking clients' appointments, you can use Hot Prospector to book on a High Level calendar. But then on the flip side of that, same thing for an appointment that's scheduled in High Level, you can turn that into a callback now. So if you have a team, maybe you have a team of AEs, account executives, that are calling appointments, those SDRs are booking appointments for the AE, and now the AE is sitting inside of the dialer and just doing their work from the dialer, and appointments are popping up at the time they're supposed to pop up. Without them having pop-ups, without them having to look at anything, they just dial and leads pop up.
Got it. It sounds like it takes a lot of just the thought process out of it, right? It's a task list essentially. The AE sits in his chair and he's got his day scheduled for him because Hot Prospector's been doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah. We just find that when you give my grandfather said he come up with this, but I know he didn't, right? If a man chases two rabbits, he doesn't catch either one, right? So it's the same thing when it comes to your sales staff. They come in, they don't have to think about which rabbit they're going after. We put the rabbit in front of them. And here's your gun. For those of you that don't like killing rabbits, I'm not into killing rabbits. I'm just, it's an analogy.
I'm actually fascinated about the partnership that you guys created with Go High Level. Have you thought about other partnerships, maybe not necessarily technology partnerships, but any other kind of brand or awareness type partnerships that you've thought about now that you've been able to lock in, high level? Is that a strategy that you're going to maybe expand on?
Yeah, we have others that we work with, but not at the level of high level. No pun intended. We actually have a relationship where we're finishing off with HubSpot and then also Service Titan to be able to, partner with more home service contractors, or even HubSpot is more of now we're into the, of the SMB. So, because high level really caters to the small business, just like we do. So, now we feel like we've gotten a strong foothold there. Now it's time to go to the and grow.
Yeah, I mean, Service Titan is everywhere. At least we've had a lot of contractors at our house lately, unfortunately, and every single one of them uses Service Titan.
Yeah. Yeah. Service Titan. And then we also integrate with Jobber, or not Jobber,
Jobber,
but House Call Pro. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, Service Titan is definitely the one to be integrated with.
for sure. We're coming up on the time. I always like to kind of finish off with your thoughts on what does Hot Prospector look like 5 years from now? Or where do you think now with AI is just literally exploding? We're getting, at least from an LLM perspective, we're getting new models. It seems like every week from either OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever. Where do you see your business, or just maybe just the market in general? What are you looking at? What do you see the future like?
I think anybody that has a clear answer on this is crazy. There's no way. You just don't know. Like, I can't tell you what's going to happen in 6 months, let alone a year down the road or 5 years. Like, it's impossible. So what I will say is my original fear, not fear, but I think anybody who's in a business, it's not a little paranoid, is probably too comfortable, and you're not going to stick around very long. I was a little bit worried back in, was it 2022? Like the end of 2022, or was it 2023? No, 2023 when ChatGPT launched like to the world.
Yeah, I mean, it was an explosion I mean, it was monumental when it came out.
Right. Like when that came out, at first I was like, holy crap, I thought they were going to turn it off. So I went in there and I started writing all kinds of stuff that I knew I needed really fast. Like I was writing marketing swipes and all kinds of stuff. I was like afraid they were going to take it away after like a month or two. And because I couldn't believe something like that existed and it was free. It was giving me better content than at that beginning than I could get when I hired a junior or a senior, a mid-level copywriter. But after a couple months of that, I started to think, wait a second, like, do you really like know what this thing can do? And like, what is this going to do? I immediately started thinking about, hey, eventually we're going to be able to make our own movies. We're going to be able to put whatever actors we want in. And this is before they started doing the stuff that they're doing now, 2 years later. So on our business, what I decided to do was to embrace the technology. And that was, one, to help get our people that were making the calls the kind of coaching that they should be able to get with AI versus having the regular traditional manager, because a lot of the small businesses that we work with don't have that ability to afford a full-on sales manager, but they still need somebody that can keep track of stuff. So we built in like an AI sales manager into our software to make sure that whatever's being said is supposed to be said, right? Like we're tracking their calls and giving them advice on what they could say that might help get them better results. We started building in AI agents that have the ability to take a call if the agent is on the phone, right? I can't take the call. I'm talking to another customer. So the overflow picks up the AI agent now tells the person, hey, listen, my human counterpart's busy right now, but I can take some notes or I can answer some questions. What do you need? So that's the kind of stuff that we started doing right now. In the very beginning, I thought that it was probably going to take over AI. But after we started to put it into the real world and like let the humans, the customers, the prospects interface with it, we realized that it's just not really there yet. And I don't know how soon it's going to be there. It could be 3 years. It could be 5 years. It could be tomorrow. So I think the best thing for anybody who's in this business or anybody who's in business that just use it, you know, and just go with the flow like the rest of us are.
I tend to agree with you. You see the headlines, "Oh, it's going to take, jobs and all these jobs." And I think that's, probably true on the margins. But, word processors didn't take people's jobs away. Like, it's going to become just another tool. Like, I was talking to somebody yesterday about his developers, and they're all using ChatGPT. It's essentially it's part of their onboarding. They all get an account. You get an email account and you get a ChatGPT account, and their developers are using it. And I like, well, have you fired anybody? He's like, no, I'm not going to fire anybody. It's just a productivity tool. I've increased their productivity by 30%, right? Which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah,
Yep.
I don't see it as again, to your point, they could come out with a model tomorrow that, is amazing. But right now it seems like a pretty good productivity tool. And then to your point about videos, what I've said, for a while now is any actor that their primary job is like acting in like pharmaceutical commercials and things like that, they're not going to have jobs anymore. Like those are the guys that are basically going away, because especially with Sora now and Sora 2, and I mean these videos are incredible. They're absolutely incredible. So, those kind of no name, you just need I can make some guy walk by the beach and be happy and put a bunch of logos on there. That's going to be very disruptive in that space, I can see. But for a lot of us, it's just another productivity tool.
I think like special if I mean I'm not in Hollywood, so but if I were in Hollywood, I'd be excited because it's going to save us a lot of money with all of the technical costs for special effects and all that. I mean, the stuff that they're able to do is really very realistic and cheap. Right? So hopefully we'll have better movies and more fun blockbusters coming out. I think I'm positive. I'm optimistic about it. I think it's all good.
I think so too. I feel the same way. Well, we're out of time. So Mark, this has actually been a really fantastic conversation. I really appreciate it. I love the insights that you had. I mean, it's really about my takeaway is it's really about simplicity and automation, but don't lose that human element. You've created something that still integrates the human element, but adds a lot of automation and simplicity into people's workflows. So, for those of you out in the listeners and viewers, ask yourself: Are you adding complexity, or are you removing it for your clients? I think that's probably the lesson from this episode. Mark, you want to tell them where they can find you? Is it just hotprospector.com?
Yeah, hotprospector.com is our website. I also have a YouTube channel. If you're into sales and marketing and you're like a lover of technology and geeky stuff like that, go to my YouTube. Just look up Mark Helton. There are two Mark Heltons. I'm not the singer. There's the singer like as well. Yeah, I'm not the singer guy.
Okay, noted. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share it, leave a quick review. It helps us grow and reach more SaaS leaders. So, Mark, I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining me. This has been great.
Thank you.